In a world where action and superhero movies are more successful than other genres, the question which arises is that how come the audience still show affection to movies like Persuasion? The answer is hidden in the power of classic literature. Classic literature has an unbelievable power, but this power doesn't derive from magical or metaphysical origins. Here, we intend to show certain aspects of the power of classic literature through reviewing the movie Persuasion. The greatness of Jane Austen and her place in literature is obvious to everyone. This movie is an adaptation from her novel with the same name, which was released shortly after she passed away. Jane Austen had inherited a powerful literature tradition, which empowered her to improve upon that inheritance as well as she could. In this movie, there are some philosophical aspects that make it more interesting. We all remember Midnight in Paris, directed by Woody Allen, which is a great example of creating a beautiful image of the past and thus idealizing it. Movies which show 19th century are usually fascinating for the contemporary audience, especially when there are some elements of nobility such as beautiful landscapes, luxurious clothing, a peaceful life, etc. All of them make a delightful image for us. Jane Austen is amongst the pioneers of women's rights advocates. Anne Elliot in the movie is partially an example of a perfect woman, the most important property of the ideal woman, which in fact is still relevant to modern women, is unimportance of marriage for their happiness. Even though because of social pressure, marriage is important for Anne, but she doesn't see it as her end goal. This is even more emphasized in the last scene, where the relation between the couple seems to be more intimate than marital. The most crucial aspect of a female protagonist for present-day audience is her independence. These three concepts that are related but yet distinguishable are perfectly portrayed in the movie, and what the movie is trying to say is that we need all of them and none of them can replace the other. This movie heavily relies on the old and somewhat cliché vision that the women don't marry until they are in love. But still, it shows that in practice, for most women, marriage is just another contract to gain security and welfare. And only few great women like Anne can marry out of love. Another importance for distinguishing between love, intimacy, and friendship is that we usually tend to mix them up and don't notice each one's place and implications. Therefore, the movie tries its best to show that most of the time you can't replace one with the other. Anne Elliot teaches us interesting lessons about the meaning of life. Rather than getting carried away with philosophical approaches towards the meaning of life, she has a much simpler approach. Even though some unfortunate events happen in her life, she maintains her positive attitude about life. Friendship, intimacy, being kind with others, having a passionate love, simplicity, and peace. These are all components of a desired lifestyle according to Anne. Even financial freedom is shown as a necessary means of life. Is it all? Definitely not. Exercising your intellect, reviewing your behavior are among the other components of a desirable life. Anne is constantly reviewing herself, which doubles her charm besides her beauty and attractiveness. This image of happiness has many similarities with Aristotle's definition of happiness. According to many philosophers, such as existentialists, one of the most important aspects of human life is his choices. We are constantly choosing between different options. How important a choice becomes, our anxiety and worries become greater. Usually, some aspects of what we choose is hidden from us. In the movie Persuasion, the difficulties of choosing a spouse has been symbolically shown as one of the most difficult choices in a lifetime, if not the most difficult one. One of the complications of this choice in a traditional society is that the women are the object of choice and have limited fortune in choosing their spouse themselves rather than being chosen. They might only have few seduction techniques to persuade men to choose them, which has been a basis for choosing the title of the movie. As the relations between humans get more complicated, especially after modernism, even though this was always the case in human relations, the duality between attraction towards and running from others has become a more apparent problem. We usually have a duality towards others. This duality, in case of relatives and acquaintances, makes us feel hurt and in pain. This is the exact feeling Anne and her lover have towards each other. This is what made them incapable of expressing their love to each other and almost destroyed their relation until they directly verbalized their feeling towards each other and fixed their almost destroyed relation. This movie demonstrates that the most difficult thing in the world is setting the relation with the one we love, in which there is the right amount of attraction and running from. Although Freud is known for developing these two concepts, some other great thinkers have grasped the idea of conscious and subconscious mind from early 19th century. In the movie, there are some remarks that show the author of the novel have also some understanding of these concepts. Basically, the reason why protagonists fail to express their love is their lack of knowledge about their subconscious. Protagonists are bound by their subconscious, and this subconscious is what's controlling their actions. Romance has always been and probably always be interesting. Love is the most delightful experience a human goes through, and narrating it, if done right, will be very pleasant. Everyone finds a good love story between two attractive and successful persons fascinating. It's funny how distant such a narration of love is with the realistic narrations that are shown in many other movies. But such platonic loves are still captivating for the audience. In other words, even with the fact that humans themselves don't experience a platonic love, they are thrilled by reading and watching those stories. The movie itself doesn't have any new elements, but it is a well-built story of classic themes and elements for humans of every age and generation. So the most important philosophical aspect of it is the nature of mankind is based on patterns that are rarely changed throughout time. Persuasion is showing basic patterns such as revivalism, romance, love, and etc. in the form of classic literature. And classic literature is great in telling romance.